4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City. A fusion of politics, commentary, entertainment, and sports. Steve and his team bring you the latest news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, some breaking news. First of all, CNN reporting that Hamas has rejected the latest ceasefire proposal put together by the Palestinian Authority. That's right. The PA put together a ceasefire proposal, and Hamas said no. Also, of course, breaking just a few minutes ago, Barack Obama speaking, talking about his chat with world leaders, that he will rally the international community. There are new sanctions being placed on Russia in the form of energy, arms, and finance. They're targeted. More banks and defense companies will be stopping credit to Russia. The president saying this is not another Cold War. When he was asked, he's also not arming anybody because he says the purpose is to stop the bloodshed, not increase it. All right, I want everybody to watch this, and we're going to get to Claire Hajaj.
It's one thing to say you want to coexist with the Jews. It's another thing you want to coexist with the state of Israel. Do you want to coexist with the state of Israel? You want to recognize Israel as a Jewish state?
No. I said I do not want to live with a state of occupiers.
All right, there you go. That's, I guess, the head of Hamas. And we are joined now, as promised, by Claire Hajaj. She's an author and former UN humanitarian worker. And her new book is Ishmael's Oranges. And what's very unique about Claire is that she has a Jewish mother and a Palestinian father. And she's also written a piece that's in Newsweek, at Newsweek.com, saying, "My Jewish mother and my Palestinian father and a family torn apart." Hey, Claire, how are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you, Steve.
Well, good to talk to you. Boy, I mean, where did you grow up exactly?
I grew up in Kuwait, which is a country that, as you know, publicly detests the Jews and privately is very suspicious of the Palestinians. So possibly not the wisest place for my parents to move, but needs must. Yeah,
I mean, well, if you had grown up in the Palestinian territories, quote unquote, let's even focus at on the ones run by the Palestinian Authority. Let's not even talk about, well, of course, Gaza is only fairly recently independent, which is another misnomer that Gaza is occupied. But let's talk about what the children there learn. I mean, I know you say that there's fault on both sides, etc. But what kind of society, and I could play this for you, and I've played it over and over and over again, what kind of society teaches their kids in school that the Jews are pigs and we must take Jerusalem with our blood, and to hate their version of Sesame Street is Mickey Mouse, this big Mickey Mouse guy saying, you know, we will kill the Jew, we will take Jerusalem with our blood. Who did the policemen kill? They killed the Jews. I mean, what kind of society is that?
Well, I mean, I don't know, frankly. I've not seen these Sesame Street things.
So you're unaware, so you're totally unaware of any of this. Okay.
I know about Palestinians that I've met who lived in the West Bank and other places. I know that these are human beings just like us who have hopes and fears and dreams just like anybody else. And when they feel pained, they get furious, which is an emotion that I know that the US political process is not unfamiliar with itself. And frankly, the people that I know just want to live their lives in peace and be economically successful and have a chance to thrive. A lot of Palestinian children, frankly, have been denied that. Now, we can argue the whys and wherefores until we're blue in the face. I know you've had many very smart commentators on, probably a lot smarter than me, talking about the whys and wherefores. But that is the truth of how Palestinian children are raised. And are there some people who teach them to hate the Jews? Absolutely.
But it's not some people. But Claire, the difference between some people and the government-run television and the government-run schools is night and day. And you could say that you know that we get angry here. Yeah, we get angry here. We don't teach people to hate here, and Israel doesn't teach people to hate there either. When you're talking about the children, and you name soccer stadiums after homicide bombers, and you lay wreaths at their graves, and you hug and honor Palestinian prisoners who return from prison after slaughtering women and children, and your president hugs them and kisses them and praises them. Again, what kind of society is that?
Again, I will go back to say there are people within both sides that have.
No, these aren't people, Claire. These are the government. This is the government.
If you are somebody who really doesn't want to understand, you've invited me on for a perspective, so let me give it. I mean, that's fine, and then obviously you can come back and tell me.
Okay, go ahead.
You may well. Yeah, I mean, there are people who make some dumb mistakes, and whenever I see that kind of thing, I feel a sense of rage inside me that these kids are not being given a chance. But equally, I have sat on a bus going from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem with young people about to join the IDF, and whatever they're taught in schools, I can tell you what they've been taught by their families, that Arabs are pigs, that they're all murderers, that the Palestinians are a lesser society, they don't know anything, they don't have any information, and they're just excited to go to a video game experience of wanting to shoot some Arabs. Now, do I think that represents the whole IDF? No. Do I think that represents all of Jewish society? No. So let's not make the same mistake for the Palestinians and say that all Palestinian children are raised to hate. It's just not true.
The difference is I just described the president of the PA. I've just described Palestinian-run schools. I've just described Palestinian textbooks. I've just described Palestinian-run television. And you're telling me what you hear on a bus and some families teach their kids. You don't, and you're saying they're the same thing? I don't think so.
Again, I mean, I'm going to go back to what I said before, that I have been with many, many, many Palestinians. I don't know, maybe more than you, but maybe not. Maybe you have also. And I can tell you that this is not what their children think. Now, can you pull up stuff and put it on TV and says this is hate material? Sure. Is there stuff that should not be in textbooks? Absolutely. Is there a narrative that should not be taught? Sure. I get, really feel that children should be allowed, not be dragged to protests. And, I have a 4-year-old myself. I know what it feels like to be a mother torn between doing the right thing and feeling that my child has to understand the context of her life. But still, I do not accept that this represents Palestinian society, that this is what Palestinians are about. And please, I do invite you to come with me and actually chat to some people down there and understand what it is that their parents teach them.
All right. What about what Israel is living with and the current conflict? How would you suggest that Israel respond to thousands and thousands of rockets being fired from the Gaza Strip, which, by the way, was given back? Not given back. It was the Palestinians never had it. They never had the West Bank. They never had the Golan Heights. They never had anything. When Israel won the wars, they won it from Syria, Jordan, and Egypt. But Gaza was given to the Palestinians, who proceeded, as I'm sure you know, to rip down the greenhouses, tear apart all the infrastructure that Jewish philanthropists had contributed millions and millions of dollars to give the Palestinians a head start. They ripped it to shreds, elected Hamas, and started eventually firing rockets, which forced the blockade. So how would you suggest Israel react to what's going on now?
Well, I think you'll find that there are many commentators out there, again, many of them who've been deeply involved in the peace process, who have said very clearly that, yes, Hamas have committed a crime by firing rockets into Israel, that targeting civilians is never the answer. However, what has been done by the Netanyahu government in response is also a crime, and the moral high ground is not occupied by the person who committed the crime second. I mean, that just doesn't work.
Well, what's the crime? What's the crime that Netanyahu committed?
I think that the crime would be killing innocent civilians.
Really? Doesn't every war take innocent civilians?
And firing indiscriminately into innocent civilians is considered
indiscriminately? So you deny that Hamas uses human shields?
I would say that when you're living in an area that's 11 kilometers by 51 kilometers, that's densely populated, that is blockaded on all sides and has the Mediterranean on another, and you can't get out, that when you, and basically has nowhere that isn't occupied by human beings, that when you fire into that area and you say to people...
No, you didn't answer my question. Does Hamas use human shields? Do they not store rockets and fire from hospitals and mosques and have tunnels under apartment dwellings and residential homes, as has been found by the UN? Are you denying that?
I'm not denying
that. Then what should Israel do, Claire? What should Israel do? Nothing? Is this a winning strategy? Terrorists have found a winning strategy?
let me listen to you. Why don't you repeat your question and let me listen so that I can fully understand what you're asking?
I just said, what should Israel do? Should they say, well, Hamas wins because they're crowded and they put their rockets with civilians and they fire from civilian areas and schools and hospitals. So we don't want to commit crimes, so we're going to do nothing.
Yeah, I mean, again, Steve, maybe I should ask you a question. You say that, well, it's as if we say Hamas came and everything was fine, and then they started shooting at Israel for no discernible reason that we can see, and frankly, they're standing behind their babies firing rockets, so of course it's okay for us to go in there and kill 1,000 people, and in order to protect the security of Israel. I mean, if I understand that's the argument that you're making, I would wonder why we are still here in the attempt to preserve Israel's security, which, by the way, I have also a vested interest in the security of people living there. I have family there, and they matter to me, and I love them. But I still know that this strategy is not working. And I also know that there are thousands of Jews around the world who agree with me and who feel very strongly that it is not the way. Now, do we all have the magic wand? Do we all have the answer? No. Should Hamas be allowed to fire rockets? No. But is there a reason that the Palestinians in Gaza have been pushed to this point? Yes. And you have to...
Well, then, Claire, if you're going to justify terrorism, then there must have been a reason that Osama bin Laden felt he was pushed to blow up the World Trade Center, too. I'm sure in his sick mind, he had a good reason in his mind for doing what he did. So if you're going to justify Hamas as terrorists and say there must be a good reason, then you could justify every terrorist group out there, and that's a recipe for the end of the Western civilization, which is what some Palestinians might want anyway. Some, I said. And I thank you, Claire. Claire Hajaj, her new book, Ishmael's Oranges. Very interesting conversation with a very interesting woman. And we're coming back with the managing partner of Gabriel Investments, Richard Vague. Don't go away.